News Talk is online. News Talk Online is a production of Paltalk.com, syndicated by CRN Digital Talk Radio. I encourage you to go to the Paltalk News Network website, which resides at reportergary.com, reportergary.com, for stories that you may or may not see, hear, or read in the mainstream media. Joining us from our Washington Bureau is Justin Duckham from the Talk Radio News Service. Justin, we were just talking about the president's speech, which I thought was a speech of a lifetime, and I personally believe he said some things that the nation had to hear. Most importantly, as we have been discussing during the first segment of the program, the need for civility in public discourse. Now, how long do you think that will resonate with the members of Congress?
Well, that is an interesting question. A lot of Republicans on the Hill are giving President Barack Obama some pretty favorable review for the speech last night. However, there is a plan to bring a vote on the repeal of healthcare reform to the floor sometime next week. I don't need to tell you that this is a very politically charged topic and will likely result in rhetoric. So as far as the kind of kumbaya feeling we're getting following a speech, it may not last for more than a week.
Well, let's, while we're on the topic of Congress, talk for just a second about the knee-jerk reaction of members of Congress who introduced legislation that, in my opinion, can do nothing to mitigate the kind of threat, the kind of occurrence that occurred on Saturday. Congressman King, Republican of New York, has introduced legislation, or says he will be introducing legislation, that would make it a crime to carry a gun near a congressman. And Senator Lautenberg of New Jersey, a bill that would make it a crime to have a gun clip such as the one that he had in one's possession. Now, do either of these guys or anybody who might support them in their proposed legislation there on Capitol Hill actually believe for one moment that a deranged gunman is going to say, oh, wait, I might get arrested for carrying a gun clip, or I might get arrested for carrying a gun near the Congresswoman, so I better not go out there and shoot her with it?
Oddly enough, the legislation that you mentioned is not even the craziest proposals that have been put out there. Representative Brady has suggested, from Pennsylvania, has suggested making it illegal to depict a congresswoman or a congressman in the crosshairs. And, there's also been some calls from Representative Clyburn to bring us back to the fairness doctrine. However, none of this really has much chance of actually getting through. The Republicans are still in control of Congress. This tragedy did not change the election results from a few weeks ago. And despite, renewed calls for gun control, it's likely not going to happen, essentially, since this would be a direct slap in the face for their base. So it's understandable why all this, why all of these issues are now in the forefront. But as far as gaining any traction, that's just not going to happen.
Speaking of the balance of power in the Congress, Bailey Hutchison from Texas announced today she is retiring. What does that do, and was that a surprise to anybody?
That was sort of a surprise. She is a fairly long-serving senator. She served from about 1993, and she's pretty well known. As far as what this means, that still remains to be seen, but it appears as if this could leave a void in Texas that the Tea Party could easily pick up. There's always discussions about what Rick Perry, the former governor of, current governor of Texas, is going to take, what his next political move is going to be. It seems like this could be something that he could pursue. But it certainly is sort of a surprise, and it also marks the first retirement announcement of the new Congress in the post-2010 midterm environment.
And finally, Justin Duckham from the Talk Radio News Service, our Washington Bureau. I understand you're on the beat today at the Pentagon, and as you know better than I, the Vice President of the United States, after making surprise visits to Afghanistan and to Pakistan, today made a surprise visit to Iraq. And what struck me was when the commanding officer, I presume a general, was introducing the Vice President, he got a less than enthusiastic response from the assembled members of the armed service and had to ask them to greet him a second time. Apparently, they were underwhelmed by the visit of the vice president.
Yeah, I mean, that has to be kind of a letdown for Joe Biden especially, but also for the troops in Iraq, I guess. You know, Biden was in Iraq today. He made about 5 or 6 meetings. He met with Nuri al-Maliki. He met also with a few generals. He met with Lloyd Austin, who is commanding U.S. forces in the country. And yes, he also paid a visit to troops. Apparently, he got a much more enthusiastic response when he was in Afghanistan. He attended a breakfast with several U.S. troops who were from Delaware, and that seemed to go off without a hitch. I'm not quite sure about this, but you know, a lot of Republicans have pointed out that you know, those in the armed services are traditionally more enamored with Republican presidents than their you know, Democratic counterparts. But you know, I'm not sure what happened today. I'm not sure if this was a PR flop or if it says anything.
Well, it was an embarrassment.
Deeper.
That's
but, no,
for sure.
It certainly
it was
is
an embarrassment. It was very much an embarrassment, I thought. Okay, Justin Duckham, you go and get the pulse of the Pentagon. I heard the vice president today say that we're going to have an orderly and respectful kind of withdrawal from Iraq, or drawdown, as they're calling it now. Like he has anything to do with it. It's the men and women in uniform that will determine how that drawdown actually goes, for goodness sakes. Justin Duckham, thanks for joining us on News Talk Online on the Paltalk News Network.
Gary, great to be here. Have a good one.
Always great to have you.